Good Friday morning, everyone. This is Vickie Sawyer, your state senator for Iredell County in North Mecklenburg, and I am so excited to have two of Iredell County finest, even though one is a transplant from Burke County, but to be with us here from the 911 Emergency Services. We have Nikki Carswell, the Assistant Director for 911, and we have Stephen Smith. He's the 911 Technical Support for Iredell County, and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for being here. And so I have really enjoyed on this show highlighting local government. And one of the best feedbacks I get from our listeners is, I never knew that Iredell County did that. And so when I was communicating this week about some legislative matters with your director, Candy, I was like, can someone please come on the show? And you guys got tapped. You got tapped to come in.
Yep, last minute.
Thank you both, Stephen. Thank you. Now, okay, so you'll allow me to do something really quick.
Okay.
We're going to role play a little bit, if you don't mind. And we, just so you know, listeners, we normally take calls during the show, but today we're not. We got a jam-packed show. We have in the first 30 minutes, we're going to have everything 911 emergency. I'm so excited to talk about it. The second part of the show, we're going to have two House representatives who are both running for statewide election. One is Representative John Bradford, who is from the North Mecklenburg area in our listening district. The other one is Representative Jeffrey Elmore. He actually is running for lieutenant governor for the state, and he actually resides in Alexander County. So counties that you both are very familiar with. So, Stephen, I have fallen and I can't get up, but I can get to my phone. And I call 911. Now, I'm saying that jokingly because it's not a joking matter. When someone calls 911, it's not a joke, is it?
No, it is not.
No, it is not a joke. So when I say I fall and I can't get up and I call 911 from my cell phone, what happens from that point? Tell me what goes on your side.
So first, we're trying to get the address because obviously we can't get the help to people unless we know the address.
Mm-hmm.
So we're verifying that. We're using our tools, the Annie Alley information, which is identification of the phone number along with the location. Mm-hmm. And then we're also using a tool called Rapid SOS. Rapid SOS is a third-party application that we can look to verify that not only the Annie Alley information matches what the caller is telling us, but the Rapid SOS should all match in real time. Mm-hmm. So we're using that information and then quickly proceeding on to getting their phone numbers. So that way, if we get disconnected from them, we can, call them back.
Sure.
And then after that, then we're moving into their name and then what happened. And so in this case, you used false. So we would enter that into our CAD. That CAD would pop up our Pro QA, which is our emergency medical dispatch.
Yeah. Okay. So you, my friend, are using a lot of acronyms and terminology. So you must be the tech guy. Is that what I'm hearing?
That is correct.
So what you're saying is when I fall and I can't get up and I call in, you have a lot of fancy equipment that will try to communicate where I'm at and where I'm calling from and who I am. And then you're going to try to get my number so that in case we do get disconnected, you can call us right back, right?
Yeah, but more importantly is, again, the location. We got to get that very first and foremost so that way we can ensure that we're getting the help. If we can't get you back on the phone, we can at least send somebody to that address.
Yeah. No, that's perfect because now in a fall situation, so say you get that information and it's a fall, who do you go to next? Who do you connect my call to?
So from that point, everything is handled internally in-house at Iredell 911. So we're running it through the Pro QA program, which is a medical dispatch program that helps us answer a bunch of questions about the current health and status of that patient.
Gotcha.
So that way we know whether we need to send an emergency traffic, EMS and fire emergency traffic, or it's a routine call where they can go at normal speeds.
Okay.
So that's what we're trying to determine.
Okay.
All in, for medical calls, all in 90 seconds. Fire and
90 seconds?
Yeah, fire and law is quicker. It's 60 seconds. We were trying to determine those answers.
Right.
Correct.
Right. So then you have, I would imagine that, so the 911 dispatcher's on the other line. I'm in distress. I'm talking to them. You're figuring out about, seems like 10 things at one time, right? Yeah. Who am I? Where am I? What kind of services do I need? And then once you get all that together, you have to figure out who to call to get, or who to reach out to get to me. And all in 90 seconds.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a lot.
It is. It is very time consuming and meticulous, but we're multitasking. We have, 6 computer screens, 3 computers to help us do all of that stuff as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And then you throw in other things like the texting to 911.
Okay, so this is pretty cool. So I'm glad I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm very excited. Nikki was talking about this and Stephen too. So let's say I have a home intruder, okay? And I'm sure I cannot call 911 and go, hey, Mr. Intruder, I'm hiding in my closet. You can hear my phone call, right? I mean, you're saying now that there is a text 911. So if there's an intruder, I don't call, I can text.
Yeah, all you have to do is open up your text messages and send it to 911, and it's going to route to the nearest peace app wherever you're from.
Okay.
As long as they have those services. Now, Iredale's had it for about 5-ish years.
Oh, wow.
And we use it more frequently now because more often people are texting, right? So they just text 911, and you're going to get an automated response from us showing that we're connected with you, along with we're going to ask you where is the location of your emergency. That's, again, going to match what you would hear on the phone if you dialed 911.
Sure. Okay. And then something else so I hear that you're a technology, I'm not going to say geek.
Guru.
I'm not guru. No, you're not, because you have a Garth Brooks hat on. No geeks wear Garth Brooks, right? Right. But tell me, so now you guys are doing research on moving that even further into the future. So you're saying eventually, if I'm texting you or calling you from my phone, you may be able to send a link to my phone and be able to see what's going to happen?
Yeah, so it's going to be a user interactive thing where it's called Next Gen 911 for video feeding.
Okay.
For video feed.
Okay.
So basically, we can send a link generated from your call through a third-party application, and everything is secure. Everything will be downloaded and kept in a cloud-based .gov system, and they have to acknowledge that by clicking either accept or decline, basically, to allow that video feed interaction. So that way, the dispatch or telecommunicators can then see what's going on real time on scene.
Wow. That is amazing. Isn't that awesome? Even Isaiah is standing up and parking. Because, I use my example because there's horrific things you have to deal with, and we're going to talk about that later. But there's horrific things that you as 911 dispatchers have to deal with. But so let's just use an example of maybe a wonderful event in life, which is like a childbirth that's not happening in the hospital where you would want it to, but it's right in front of you. I mean, I can imagine how helpful that would be for me not to have to keep my phone in my ear to try to figure out, to communicate what's going on with the woman who's having child who is in delivery. You guys will be able to see and then communicate that to the EMS that's coming, and you'll know where we're at in the house, or you can say it looks like a bedroom, or that's really cool stuff.
And Stephen brought out a great point about the mental health part of it, because we hear you on the phone right now, but we don't see you, right? So whenever this comes about, we'll see the activity on the other side of the phone where we don't now. So the mental stress of it is very important.
Right.
We're very concerned.
And oftentimes those first responders, other than the 911, they see it, but they're there after the event. And you guys are going to be living it through the event. So that's going to be very significant. So with change comes challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. The pros and cons, we have to weigh that no matter what you're doing or implementing. The mental health has always been an issue because we have a lot of the unknowns. Yeah. We deal with the callers in their extreme worst emergency for their lives. But what we don't hear or see often is the outcome, whether they survived in the hospital from that traffic accident, or, they survive in that horrendous fire. Whatever the case may be, we don't get that. So that's the mental strain on telecommunicators, and you're taking those calls one right after another often in those high stress environment, and it does add up
Yeah,
for us.
it's tough being the middleman. We were talking about that earlier. Now, let me tell, and this was really cool for me. Nikki, I'm going to ask you to talk about this portion of it. I was reading this call statistics that comes into your agent's, well, I went department, and the amount and type. So what struck me most is the type of calls, but also the amount. So this March, you guys had a call volume of 24,039 calls.
Yeah.
24,000. And remind me, every call that comes in, you guys dispatch everything except for Mooresville Police Department and Statesville Police Department.
Correct.
So everything else you guys do is, gosh, all of this thing, law enforcement, EMS, rescue, fire, animal control, and there's an other category. I don't really know what's in the other. But that's March 23rd, 24,000. But March 22, just a year ago, it was only 20,000.
Correct. It's growth in the county.
Yeah.
So, we're up to close to 300,000 calls for service a year.
Wow.
So, it's
300,000?
a lot. Yeah.
Wow. And how many we have in the county is like 190,000?
Yeah. So
Wow.
It's a lot. Yeah. I mean, people call 911 for everything.
Do
So,
they?
Under the sun.
Yeah. So, so 300,000. And like you said, in a growing county, I mean, and I actually like the fact that in Iredell County, if I dial 911, you're going to be on the other line and you're going to make sure somebody's going to get there. And that's an important service for us all, regardless of if you're Republican or Democrat, young or old. We all need you to be there.
Yes.
And it costs money. And you guys, I love the fact that you are looking into the technology. I mean, that video technology just seems really, really cool. You went through an upgrade recently, or not recently, but a while ago. And when we talk about communications and radio, that's always a tough subject, because now when you guys are in that middle ground where you're taking the call from me and now you have to dispatch fire. Well, maybe one department has a certain frequency on a radio and the other department has another frequency on the radio. And you guys are like trying to navigate how many different, 19 different?
Yeah, 19 different fire departments.
Right. And they are not all in the same channel or radio, or are they now?
So going back to the radio topic, I mean, we have 5 different radio systems, not just frequencies. I'm talking about systems. So we have the Viper, which is the state system.
Okay.
We have the Statesville 800 system. We have a WSIC radio system, which is based out of Charlotte.
Okay.
And then you have the VHF, UHF components to help with the paging and the toning aspect. So that's why we're saying we have 5 that negates interoperability, which is what we strive for.
Sure.
And so trying to go the one radio system, which we're working on the project right now for the simulcast for Viper, that will help us negate those other 4 systems into one.
That seems key. It sounds like you guys are all talking English. You're talking English, but maybe the department may be talking like the Queen's English, and someone may be talking like, Middle English, and you all have the same things, but just not being able to communicate at the same time.
Goals, I think, in the long run.
Yeah.
It's just how do we get there?
Right. And you do want to be able to communicate on a statewide level. Something that you told me about, Nikki, that I thought was very interesting. Iredell County is the backup for Carteret County.
Yes.
Carteret County being at the coast.
That's right. And, you think about the coast, you don't want another coastal town to be your backup, because you're going to have the same problems, the same concerns as flooding and so forth. So we are the backup for Carteret County.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
It does make sense.
Inland.
So yeah. You wouldn't want Beaufort County to be backing up Carteret, because they're all like in desired
Disaster zone.
Thank you. I got tongue-tied there. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Now, something else that I thought was very interesting is that being that middleman, it's got to be hard, but it's also very rewarding. I heard you speak about the folks at the 911 Technical Support Center, or the support center for Iredell County, as a family. It sounds like you guys really do cherish each other's working relationships, because you know how important the job is.
It is. And we are, like you said, the middle person. So we get a lot of the hits. A lot of people are critical of us, but we keep our heads up and we fight through it.
Yeah.
And again, we don't we try not to dictate. We are to communicate. That's our duty, is to communicate. And so I think a lot of people, they tend to forget about what 911 services is all about.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, go ahead, Stephen.
And, communication is a lost art. Like we were talking about it earlier, right? Like everybody's so focused on texting and Facebook and all this. Face-to-face communication, which in our life, radio is a form of that, right?
Yeah.
So understanding that we all have our missions and we're trying to, like Nikki said, inform what's going on so that they, as sister agencies, can do their job.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's tough. And thank you both for, doing this very important service to Iredell County. And so I was looking through and I noticed that if you have opportunities for people to become 911 telecommunicators. So, I have two young daughters, and they don't really know what their services or their call for the profession is going to be in life. And so, if you have a child who's, or maybe listening, if you are someone who doesn't know or wants a career change, what does it take? What is the education? How do you become a 911 operator?
So we'll put you through the training, and it's roughly 6 months is your training, and then high school diploma you have to have, but we do have the apprenticeships that we have now that is offered through the state. But you apply online with Iredell County, and it's called telecommunicator. A lot of people refer to as dispatch, but is telecommunicator 1 is your call take position, telecommunicator 2 is your dispatch. You talk on the radio, so it is a little different, and people kind of get that confused when they apply. But the telecommunicator 1 is you're on the phone.
Okay.
Telecommunicator 2 is you're on the radio.
Okay.
So that's kind of the difference.
Yeah.
So.
And so if I had, high school diploma, or I'm assuming GED equivalent, right?
Yes.
And I wanted to come and work as a 911 dispatcher, you guys will train me.
Yes.
Is what you're saying. I don't have to go to maybe Mitchell Community College. I don't have to go to UNC Charlotte. I can come in and work for you guys right out of the gate.
Correct.
That is awesome. And you do your in-house training there.
We do.
And I have seen the facility from the inside. It's been a year, maybe 2, but it is impressive. When you were talking earlier about the number of screens, as a girl who has self-diagnosed ADD and works with 4 screens just to handle email, I was like, I'm in love. This is so cool. I mean, when you're sitting down, it's almost, these are people's lives, so I'm not making light of the seriousness of the job, but it is almost like you're like in mission control,
it
right?
Is. I mean, NASA.
How many? Yeah, like NASCAR. Yeah. Like how many screens are in front of you? I mean, you said 4 screens, or
so we have 6. 4 are geared towards our CAD stuff.
Yeah,
and then we have 1 for phone and 1 for radio.
Okay, gotcha. And then when you're there, it's not like you're stuck. I mean, this is a beautiful building. Iredell County did a great job with the building this building, but you're not stuck if you're a worker into this like black hole like where you guys used to be.
Correct.
I saw where you were before you went, and you really needed this upgrade. But you have, like you said, a family. There's a community. It's not like you're just stuck in a hole, not being able to communicate with your other coworkers. And I thought something else was really cool. You don't have to work like 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, do you? So how would it look like if I wanted to work there? What would be my typical job?
So you work 12-hour shifts, and you work like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then off Monday, Tuesday, and work Wednesday, Thursday only the next week.
Oh, okay.
So equivalent to 15 days a month.
Okay.
So.
Oh, nice. Okay, so that's really nice. And then you have the 12-hour shifts, and that is really, really cool. Now, Stephen, we talked about having one communication network for the radios and everything else like that, so you guys can communicate better. We talked about the video feed in your text to 911. What else do you see in the future for telecommunications? How else is this going to evolve? Because you're the technology guru, not geek, guru.
I mean, honestly, the video piece is a hurdle right now in and of itself, because you're talking about structured data source, such as the phone calls, and emails or the texts, but now we're going into the unstructured world of the raw video data.
Yeah.
So that is going to be a huge hurdle, and that's going to take us some time, not just our county, but I'm talking about nationwide, figuring out the best approaches to that. Again, I talked about the .gov cloud. A lot of companies that are going down servicing 911 centers are already on board with the .gov cloud to make sure that their security requirements are met and securing that data.
Sure.
That's going to be the next probably 10 years of trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
And then from there, we'll see where technology takes us. I mean,
yeah. So I'm dealing with something that actually Mooresville PD wants, and it's very intricate, and it's called license plate readers. And so it sounds like, okay, you know, but it seems like a no-brainer. You can catch all these other people, but when you start drilling down into personal information, who's going to store that, who then has access to that video, do you give it to law enforcement, do you not give it to law enforcement, or, you know, and what does law enforcement even mean at some point? You know, if it is very difficult when you're starting to talk about the collection of personal data in a public space.
Absolutely. I mean, they have the flock cameras now that have been around for quite some time, and that's basically going down that same path that you're talking about.
Yeah, like where, and then you got to put guardrails around that kind of stuff. You can't just willy-nilly do that, because I'm going to pick on attorneys a little bit. I mean, an attorney then could sue to get that information and then be able to use that information to prosecute or to defend someone. And is that allowed or isn't it allowed? I mean, it's not to say it's bad or good. It's just those are questions that's got to be answered before you can just say, hey, look at me in my worst moment in my life as I, you know, call 911. So
Correct.
I do. But I think the good will always outweigh the bad, and just have to have those conversations.
Absolutely.
Now, before we leave here, there's something that touches both of your hearts, and things that Candy has asked and worked with me on, and I got caught up on, and that is, you know, how are telecommunication, you guys at 911 considered first responders or not first responders when you're talking about in the workers' compensation space? Okay, that was a lot of words to say that. When someone who's at 911, and if they have an issue after a call, like a very bad call, like you said earlier, you don't know what happens if they live or die. You may have heard the worst of everything, and you just need a break, right? You just had enough, you need a break. But your pocketbook doesn't let you have a break, right? Because you have to pay those bills.
Correct.
Right. So then you come back, and then you have to work again and again and again. Now, other law enforcement professionals get that break, and that's through a workers' compensation thing, because they're saying, look, I just need a middle rest. And then you get the 66 2/3 money back to do that. But telecommunicators, not so much, right? And this is something you guys are really advocating for.
Correct. You know, a lot of agencies out there, the APCO, the NINAs, we're advocating for not only local change, because, you know, North Carolina does not have a job classification for telecommunicators like they do for law enforcement. So we're trying to advocate that change locally, along with other states are trying to do the same thing, so that then we can go to the federal government and get them to change their job classification, because North Carolina does not have a job classification, but the federal government does for administrative and clerical. So we need to change that to be recognized as a first responder. That way we can then, for the workman's comp and stuff, help for mental health.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. No, I think that's a fair request, because I could only imagine what you guys see and hear on a daily basis when not in our best moments. So before you go, we only have 1 more minute left, and this is kind of like fresh off the cuff. Can you tell me like the funniest call you've ever had? Like just the one you were like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I think
you're putting me on the spot.
Okay,
no.
Okay.
So it's been a couple years. It has been a couple years since I've been on the console, but you get some funny calls because you get the repeat callers.
Okay, I see.
That you know is not
like their toilet is running.
Yes. Or
that, or they're just kind of wanting that extra attention to interact.
Oh,
so
I see.
someone to talk to.
Yeah, just someone to reach out to.
Okay,
You know?
well, that's good. Well, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I kind of meant to put you on the spot, but did not mean to make you uncomfortable. I can sometimes share my funny emails of the week with people, but Stephen, Nikki, thank you so much for being here. This is such a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I'm just appreciative of all your service and what you do for Iredell County. Thank you
for everything.
Thank you so much. Well, guys, coming back after the break, we will have Representative John Bradford and Representative Jeffrey Elmore. Please stay tuned. Thank you so much.
Partly cloudy tonight, the low 57. A slight chance of rain for Saturday with a high near 83. Mike Jackson, WSIC News.
Before you throw away those unused medicines, stop.
There are better ways to dispose of your unused meds to protect the ones you love.
To find a medicine disposal site near you, visit
Well, welcome back to the show, everybody. It's just me, Senator Vickie Sawyer, and I'm grateful to be here. The next 30 minutes that you spend with us, we're going to really drill down and talk to two leaders in the North Carolina House of Representatives. The first one will be John Bradford, who's calling in a few moments. And then, of course, Jeffrey Elmore, who is a chairman and works a lot with education because he is a teacher. And he's also running for lieutenant governor. But while we're waiting on John to call in, I do want to remind folks he's not new to the show. He's called in before. He also serves as the North Mecklenburg representative and is one of the he is the only Republican representative for Mecklenburg County, and he has done a great job at that. He was first elected to the legislature in 2014. He's in his fourth term in the House of Representatives. He is definitely in House leadership. He's the senior chairman of the Finance Committee. Remember, finance is how we make the money. Appropriations is how we spend the money. So John is represents the tax man, and John absolutely has done a great job under his leadership. We are continuing to reduce taxes for personal income taxes and for all of us across North Carolina. He's also a successful entrepreneur, so he gets it. He has to pay those taxes. He started 2 different companies he's built from the ground up, and one of it is called Pet Screening, which is actually headquartered in Mooresville, North Carolina, even though he lives in Cornelius. He's got a big company, and they work on that. Now, John graduated from Clemson University in 1996. He's got honors and a BS in engineering. He got an executive MBA from the University of Memphis. He's been married to 22 years to his high school sweetheart, Shay. And then together they have 4 children, Jack, Molly, Sophie, and Macy. Now, he's going to try to add to that resume and call himself a North Carolina State Treasurer, which he has put his hat into the ring for. Again, the treasurer is the keeper of the public purse, as the current treasurer likes to say. He's not challenging our current treasurer. Remember, our treasurer, Dale Falwell, has decided he wants to put his hat in the ring for governor. So John Bradford has answered the call. He wants to be your North Carolina State Treasurer. He's got a long campaign road ahead of him, but if you've ever met John, you will know that he is full of energy. I don't know how he gets everything done. He does, because he is absolutely a burst of sunshine and energy, and he has been just very grateful to have him in our delegation. When we say delegation, that means as a senator, I have a larger area, and then House of Representatives has just a little smaller area, and John is one of the 4 people that are in my delegation. So we are grateful that he's going to take a few minutes out from he said call time today to be on the show, and it sounds like we do have Representative John Bradford, Chairman. Welcome to the show. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, hello, Senator Sawyer.
Well, I was just
good.
I know. I just threw you right on. Well, I went through your accolades. Clemson grad, and finance chair, and been serving in the state legislature for your 4th term now, and then you're just now throwing your hat in the ring. You want to add to your resume, I hear. You want to.
That's right. More to do.
Yeah, just why not? And I was bragging on the amount of energy that you have and you bring to this position. But no, it's true. You absolutely are just strong in that. But tell us, as you're moving forward, what enticed you about treasurer, and how's the state campaign going to go? And just give us the idea about what these next year is going to look like in your life.
Well, thank you. Well, this will be my first attempt at a statewide race. To your point, I've served in this role since my 7th year, so I'll finish this year, next year. So that'll be 8 years of serving in the legislature. And when our current treasurer, Dale Falwell, announced that he was running for governor, that's what actually created the opportunity for me to, put my ring in the hat here to run. I'm look, my wife and my kids will tell you that I'll make a fabulous treasurer because they sort of laugh about how tight I am, how cheap I am. But I'm a true fiscal conservative in that we need to save money, we need to plan for things that we don't know are coming. So as senior chairman of finance, I've worked hard to make sure that in our budgets we put money away in our rainy day savings funds for things that wildfires, hurricanes, things like a pandemic. And so the treasurer role, it's a really natural fit. I'm extremely qualified. I'm excited to run. What's important to me about treasurer is really we have to maintain the integrity and the health of our state pension plan. Right, that is money that was paid into the fund by our state retirees, and it needs to be there for them when they get there, and for all the other folks that continue to pay in. We have a AAA bond rating. That's incredibly important because we can borrow money less than what normal market rates are. So we need to maintain that rate, and just other, I would say, common sense things. We have the Sheets Fund, which is that I think it's like North Carolina Cash Fund, where people have unclaimed money. Make sure that people are checking that because you might have money waiting.
Yes,
I had money waiting, Vickie, for me. I didn't even know. I had done a real estate transaction for a piece of real estate I purchased out of state, and there was a small refund, and I guess they couldn't find me, and it went to the North Carolina Sheets Fund, and I was able to claim it.
Oh.
So there's truly money there for people who don't realize. It could be a utility deposit refund, just something that didn't make it to you. It could be sitting in that fund.
Yeah. No, thank you for outlining that because I was reading over your webpage, and that's electbradford.com for state treasurer. So, guys, if you want to check out John Bradford, make sure to go to electbradford.com. And there's several things that I just think you're so qualified for this position for, but one of them is that you have built businesses from the bottom up. You sign the front of paychecks. And that's a big deal. So you as a very large taxpayer, right, as a business owner, you get how hard it is to make money, and so you do not want to just easily spend it.
That's right. And if you go to electbradford.com, one of my platform things that I really want to continue to work with the legislature on, because even though I won't be a legislator if I was lucky enough to win this race, I want to have a working relationship with the legislature, and I really want to try and initiate just sort of an entrepreneurial leadership program for high schools across our state, because there's a lot of opportunity for our young minds. Not everyone's going to have an opportunity to go to a 4-year college. Not everyone's going to have an opportunity to even go to a community college, but everyone has an opportunity to, we have 2 hands, we have 2 ears, we have 2 legs, and, we need to teach these kids, go buy a lawnmower, push it, and now buy 2 lawnmowers, get a friend to help you push that one, you push yours, now go get a 3rd lawnmower. Next thing you know, you start to grow a business. And businesses, there's a lot of skilled trade opportunities from plumbing, electrical. People can make a lot of money doing that. And we need to teach sort of entrepreneurism, if you will, in high school. Yeah. So that kids who don't go to 4-year colleges or even to community college can understand what does it take to start my own business, maybe walking dogs or just, the smallest of things can grow to the biggest of things.
I love that.
Yeah, and that's something I want to work with the legislators. I look forward to working with you because I obviously know that you'll still be in the Senate to try to go build that out.
No, I love that, and that also reminds me of something because we have a few more minutes left, and you do have a heart for children. All children, and you have been one, if not the only legislator that I know that has worked with the community in the Down syndrome space, and you have been just a champion. Can you talk about your work with that community, please? Yes.
You know what, Senator Sawyer, yesterday I just interviewed and hired my 7th legislative intern with Down syndrome. She will be starting next Wednesday, so I hope if you see her around the building, you'll say hello. Her name is Sophie. Yes. And I have a daughter named Sophie, so that's very near and dear to my heart. But Sophie is a very talented young lady, and she'll be working for my office. And I believe that individuals with Down syndrome, they're like any other person that's out there. They want to lead productive lives, be a meaningful part to our society, and they want to work jobs. And so I try to lead by example and find individuals who have Down syndrome. This is not charity. I make that very clear. We put these young men and women to work. They come in my office. They help fold letters. They greet people that are coming to our office. I've even had them call businesses in my district asking, what can our office do to help them?
Oh, wow.
So it's truly a role where they earn their pay. They're a state employee. And the point is, if anyone on your show or anyone listening to your show is in a position, whether it be at their wherever they work, to try and shine a light on individuals with Down syndrome, and if there are job openings that they could be considered for, I think it would be a wonderful opportunity, because you will see that individuals with Down syndrome, you will learn so much more from them. I always say that while we love to teach these kids a lot about state government, I'm convinced I get more from them than they ever would get out of us in our office, because they just have so much to offer.
I love that. That is so great. And I'm just continue to highlight, your servant's heart. Before we say goodbye, just anything that you want our listeners out there to know specifically about you or your campaign, or if, folks in Cornelius and Huntersville listen to this show as well, how can they help you, John Bradford?
Yeah, well, obviously, I would just say, I've been a very common sense legislator, working hard, very business-minded, and, I don't know, if you like what I've done, please continue to support me. And just for a moment, I want to brag on Senator Sawyer. She represents a part of even my district now, and you've been just a wonderful, wonderful, not only legislator, but I know you to be a great mom, a great business owner there in Mooresville, and we're very lucky. The state is lucky to have you. Your district is lucky to have you. And if I'm lucky enough to win treasurer, and I know you'll be coming back, I just have all the confidence in the world you would. And so hopefully we'll continue to work together. But for everyone listening, please support Vickie as well. She needs it.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for joining the show today, and I appreciate everything that you do.
Thanks for having me.
Remember, if you thank you. Now, listeners, if you like what you heard for John Bradford, make sure to go to johnbradford.com. That's John, John, Bradford, BRADFORD.com, so you can learn more about him and his service, and moving on to the state treasurer. Now, the next caller that we have in, he's also a House representative, serving since 2013. God bless his soul. I don't know how long he's made it that long. Now, Jeffrey Elmore. Now, if you know Jeffrey Elmore and you see him around, he is the only Republican legislator out there that is a current public school teacher. He represents Wilkes County and Alexander County, which is one of our neighbors, and he is just a joy to serve with as well. Jeffrey is the one, if not the main leader of public education policy, and we're going to talk a little bit about that because that has been in the news lately. He's also very busy this week as a Wilkes County resident and legislator. There's a big old NASCAR race coming, so I was watching his social media feed yesterday as he was working through that. He is a visual arts teacher with a focus in painting and sculpture, and he's to every grade level since 2001. So he really is a teacher that practices what he preaches, because he is making law and one of the major people who make law in North Carolina about public education. And then he goes back into the classroom and he teaches and also learns and has to deal with the laws that he makes. So it's like actually a perfect symbiotic relation with that. Jeffrey has always got a smile on his face every time you see him out there and walking around in the legislative building, always friendly and kind, and is willing to work, and just so grateful that he's here. Now, he's decided that he would like to be your next lieutenant governor. And remember, lieutenant governor is the president of the Senate. So he's vying to be my president of the North Carolina State Senate. So he would be the one in the front, gaveling in and gaveling out the state Senate. He also is a great, you call bully pulpit, where you can get your message out across North Carolina and really work hard to have that great platform. And since the current lieutenant governor is choosing to run for our governor, that means that Jeffrey will not be challenging an incumbent. He will absolutely be working to get that. And I think we have Representative or Chairman Jeffrey Elmore. Jeffrey, thank you so much for calling into the show.
How is my one of my favorite senators, Senator Sawyer?
I was just singing your praises about one of the kindest men who are always out, and about, and I love seeing you in the General Assembly, and that you actually practice what you preach as a public teacher. You're one of the top, if not the top, policymaker for education, and my goodness, what a job that you do with that. You do amazing work.
Well, I appreciate that, and wanted to thank you for your work on Senate Bill 20 and
Thank you.
how we got that overridden this week, and it's going to save a lot of lives. It's a true blessing.
It is a true blessing, and so something that's so difficult. And and I'm really excited. I want to talk about your upcoming campaign for Lieutenant Governor, but if you allow me to talk a little bit of policy, you
Sure.
guys sent over a bill that I think it's getting mischaracterized, but it's very thorny issue around public education. And I brag on you about being the public educator and a teacher, and you have to live with what what you're writing. So what would you like to talk about this opportunity scholarship and the school choice and the type of legislation that's over now in the Senate?
Well, what this will do is create it basically expand the program to where all parents in the state can have the opportunity, if they choose, to send their child to a private school. Mm-hmm. And I've taught school for 23 years, and I want a kid to be wherever they find the most success and the best fit for them, because the whole point of all of this is the child's future. Mm-hmm. This is just another tool in the toolbox to be able to meet that goal. I think in our time, I've been in the General Assembly now over a decade, we have expanded school choice options in many different ways. Kids have so many opportunities now through charter schools, online school, online virtual charters, early colleges, through the career and college promise classes. We've created basically a buffet of opportunities for kids so they can meet their personal goals. And this is just a piece of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate that, and I feel exactly the same way. And also, and from a state level, when you and I both represent, you more rural than me, but still rural areas, and we have some great rural school systems. And this is no means an attack at them at all, but we hear some really poor outcomes from some of our urban centers. In fact, Nick Oshner, who is a WBT investigative reporter, was just sending another Charlotte mom calls WBT for help after daughter's reported sexual assault case. And we keep seeing some of these not great outcomes from some of these urban areas. And so what you're saying is that if you are a family, regardless of your income within those urban centers, you can use this scholarship to go to a private school.
That is correct. And when you're talking about some of the urban schools, it's very true. I focused on failing schools with legislation last session, mm-hmm. and we had some schools performing at 10% reading proficiency at the elementary level, and 10%? It was consistent for over a decade, just repeatedly. And many of those systems have closed districts, meaning if you are in that particular school district, you do not have an option to go to another public school in the system. Mm-hmm. You have to go to that particular school. And that puts a parent in a real tough situation, mm-hmm. especially if their kid is a very good student. They want their kid to find success. Mm-hmm. This will help dramatically in mm-hmm. those situations.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I mean, you're right. This is to try to help those families that live in an area that has struggling public schools, then make sure that their zip code doesn't dictate their educational freedom and outcome. So I appreciate that. Hey, you want to talk about something even more fun? I heard this guy named Jeffrey Elmore that maybe live out west could be trying to be like something called a president of the Senate, maybe a lieutenant governor. Is that something that you've heard too?
I've heard it too, and I think there will be an official announcement coming out next week dealing with that. Mm-hmm. I'm just so jealous of you guys in the Senate. I just want to come be part of the team. You know what I mean? Yeah.
So for all the times that we have not passed any legislation, now you can gavel us in and gavel us out, and you'll have control of us all. You can exact your wrath.
It's very exciting going into it. I feel like that going into the campaign, that for that position, we need someone that's been a consistent conservative, and that is something that I've been the entire time in my tenure in the legislature. Sometimes you know this, mm-hmm. Vickie, yourself. When you mash that button, that's an important job, mm-hmm. and you've got to truly vote based on your values and mm-hmm. your district. And I understand that. And I've been consistent with that. And even when it goes against a party idea or a particular member's bill, because you have to take that approach with it. And I think for the lieutenant governor's position, you need someone with that value set. And that's one reason why I'm putting my name in the hat. And with my background in education, the boards that the lieutenant governor sits on, they're all education related.
Okay.
I'll actually understand what I'm looking at when you're seeing the new proposal or the new policy that the State Board of Education is putting forth.
No, I appreciate that, because I think you do have that unique skill set that is unlike any others, as being a classroom teacher and someone who's been in the political sphere at a Raleigh level. So you will have just a professional acumen that not many will have. And so I'm so grateful that you put your hat in the ring. So as someone who has never ran statewide, you're looking at this campaign. How do you even begin to do it? I mean, what is your thought process right now?
Well, we're putting together the team, and we're getting our materials together, and we're going to work our way out. I'm going to be traveling around the state, talking to, focused on the primary at this point, and talking to fellow conservatives and introducing myself and explaining what I want to do with the office and what the office needs. And
Great.
It's just getting that together, and it's exciting times. It's busy. But
Yeah,
it's
I bet
exciting.
you are. Now, we have a lot of folks locally who are part of like a Republican Party or the Lake Norman Women's Group or those types, and they want to hear from you and they want to reach out to your campaign. Do you have an email address or somewhere that they can reach out to you to invite you to come and speak and hear about your future, your goals for North Carolina's future?
I've got a scheduler. His name's Hunter Tharp, and when we get the public release out, all of that information will be there, and our website will be live, talking about my goals for the position, and they'll be able to contact Hunter and to where I can get out there and speak to our women's clubs and our party clubs. Yes.
Thank you so much. So I'm going to let you go here for a minute, but you're busy this weekend. I think I'm coming to see you on Sunday. There's a little something called a NASCAR race in your backyard.
There's the All-Star Week. I'm sitting on the porch right now, right in North Wilkesboro. Last night we had Fan Fest in the boroughs. It brought thousands into town, closed with a fireworks show. And I'm going out to the track this afternoon to see practice and qualifying. Just a little thing. And it's amazing what we've done here and how that's totally helped a rural economy. Like you said, I'm a whole lot more rural than you are, Vickie, in southern Iredale. And this strategic placement of money has really given us a shot in the arm economically in this whole Northwest region.
I love it.
And that can be mimicked all over the state of North Carolina because we leveraged what we had, our asset that we had.
I agree.
And it's very exciting times up here.
Great. Yeah, I'm excited for you. We're coming to the race, my husband and I, on Sunday, so hopefully I'll get to see you out there. But you're right. I mean, with the amount of money that the state of North Carolina invested in that speedway, if they were to invest that money into Charlotte, it would have just gone into a way. It doesn't move the needle that much in those big urban areas. But when you put that money into a strategic location like Wilkesboro, North Wilkesboro, that is just game changer. I mean, every hotel, even in Statesville, is full this weekend. So it's amazing. So I appreciate your leadership on that.
Yes, very exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. I think you're going to have a good time. When you see the track, you are going to be absolutely amazed. It looks like it did, but it is all new. They call it a retro mod.
Oh, cool.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Well, very good. Well, thank you so much. And that is, thank you so much for calling into the show today, Chairman Elmore. And I look forward to seeing you on the campaign trail. And you're welcome back to the show anytime. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you so much, Vickie. I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, I think you guys have a taste of what's probably the show's going to look like coming up soon, is an opportunity to hear and listen to folks who are running in statewide races that I've connected with over time in my service in the legislature, because I want you to be able to know and understand how important these roles are. When we're voting, oftentimes we just vote for president and then maybe governor, and then whoever the rest of those guys are. But if anything, COVID taught us many lessons in life, and one of the lessons in life is that statewide candidates matter. Statewide candidates matter because what he was talking about is lieutenant governor, and you serve on these different panels, or you actually have voting power as a council of state, then you will make decisions based on your area. And that's exactly what he is going to do. So again, John Bradford and for treasurer, and Jeffrey Elmore for lieutenant governor. Those are two of many, I'm sure, that you'll hear that are coming up. Before we leave, I do want to say we got a couple more minutes left. This week was interesting in Raleigh, just a little bit. I mean, we not only did the override of the veto for Governor Cooper's anti-Mother's Day abortion rally, we did get that overridden. So the new law will go into effect July 1. That was what Jeffrey Elmore was talking about with Senate Bill 20. The Senate also put out its version of the budget. Now, budget, I know, snore, but don't snore at this. That's a $30 billion with a B, $30 billion document. And so for us, it's a big deal. And I've been working very hard, especially in the transportation space, to make sure that we are getting the most bang for our buck, and that we can do and deliver, and that the agency can deliver on promises that they give. Or have made. So remember, the General Assembly, it is our job to raise the money and to appropriate the money. Remember, finance and appropriations. But it is as soon as this budget goes, it hits all of those individual agencies that administer government services, and then they take the money and do with it as not as always as we ask them to, but sometimes as we wish. So that's where we get into some really back and forth. And for those of you on the very conservative side who thought that, what are they doing by expanding Medicaid? I think you guys are absolutely out of your mind. Well, first of all, no, there was a thoughtful, controlled approach to that. But secondly, Medicaid does not get expanded unless the budget is passed. Medicaid does not get expanded unless the budget is passed. The budget, I believe, or I know, is not done yet. It's a work in progress. But there's going to be a lot of Democratic broccoli in that budget as far as things that we have been working on to get and make North Carolina better for the future. The folks who are out there that contact my office, feel free to continue to contact and email, and I will try to respond to you as much and quickly as I can. It is a very, very busy time. For those of you who are very heavily weighted into the budget area and you saw the Senate budget come out and it didn't have things that you thought would be in there, don't worry. Remember, this is just a rough draft. When you were writing your term paper in high school, hopefully you didn't send in your first draft. But the way we do that with the state budget is that we have to send in our first draft, but it will not be the final output. So don't worry that there may not be something in there that you thought could be. We can continue to work on it. Guys, next week is going to be another busy week in Raleigh. I'm grateful for the words of support. This week was tough. It was a very tough week for me. I'm grateful that it's over. I'm looking forward to the future. I'm excited for some great bills to get locally passed, and I'm going to talk about those next week. So thank you so much for listening. As always, I'm your dutiful and faithful Senator Vickie Sawyer.